Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time zone where you are from. Let me know if the audio is clear and then we can get started. I've just put a hi all. Hi Kunal, how are you? I can hear myself, so it's good. Excuse me. So hi Milind, hi Sunny, hi Vijay, hi Praveen. How are you? I'm good. Merry Christmas to everyone. And advance Happy New Year as well. I don't know if I will be going live during the New Year, but definitely Happy New Year to everyone and your family too. So hi Sanjay, hi Anil, hi Shankar, hi Gagan. So Gagan is straight away starting with a question. Your thoughts on cloud native development? Cool. Let me close my windows and then we can get started. Hey Sandeep, thank you. Hi Rupanshu. Hi Karamveer. Hi Pramod. So Pramod is give me certifications to become technical architect. Yeah, sure. We will discuss. Maybe I'm just saying hi to everybody, just as a start, and then maybe we can get started once. I think we have some. I don't know how many people are watching right now. Where do I see that? Okay, right now there are 31 concurrent viewers. Okay, that's good. 5 likes. Okay, cool. Let people join. Let me give like a minute or something, and then we can get started. So hi everyone, how are you guys? Where are you all from, and how long have you been following the channel? Just to get a sense of what you guys are aware of, right? Just to get a sense of that, you can answer that in the chat so that I can know you. Hi Deepak, hi Elias. I know most of you because I know I pick up your questions, so I know most of you are coming again and again. But still, just to get a sense of how long have you been following my channel and how's it, and where are you from, right? So hi Nitesh, hi Madhu. Yeah, surprise for you. Yeah, hope you're able to join. So I told you in the last moment, but yeah, thanks for joining Madhu. Hi Sumit, hi Jackie. Okay, hi Abhijit, hi Deepak, hi Dupala, hi Vijay. I think okay, so 2 years, nice. From last 1 year, cool. Yes, Rupanshu is 2 plus years. Okay, Vijay is more than 2 years, nice. From Nasrapet, okay, Andhra, cool. Last 1 year, cool. Sanjay, good to know. Few weeks, okay. You're a new subscriber then. Welcome to the channel. Venkateshwaran has been following for 2 years, nice. Hi Venkat. Okay, Vijay is from Vizag, nice. Vijay. Helias is also from Hyderabad. I see a lot of people from Andhra. Nice, 2 plus years. Bangalore, nice Anil. Okay, things are going fast. 2 years from India, yeah. Most of the people who watch my channel are from India, but yeah, good to know. I'm from Salem, Tamil Nadu. Good. I'm following his channel since 1 year. Also came to know about your software engineering podcast. Oh, nice. Good man. Good to know. People looked at the software engineering podcast and then came to the channel. But yeah, thanks for coming, Ajit. 1 year from Pune. Nice, Prakash. Welcome to the channel. More than a year from okay. A lot of people are from Andhra. Good, sir. Thank you, Aniket. Nitesh is like 1 plus years. Nice. Hey, Milind. 1 year. Nice. Few seconds. Gagan is like he just joined a few seconds ago. Okay, Gagan. Thanks for joining and welcome to Tech Primers. Okay, so maybe we can get started, and then I'll just answer your questions. And if I had left somebody, I will definitely pick your name and then give a shout out. Maybe we can go from the beginning. Okay. Your thoughts on cloud native development? I think everything is on cloud native development these days, Gagan. If you think about cloud and then develop software and architectures over the cloud, it's cloud native development. And most of the softwares we use these days are based on cloud native architectures, right? So if you had asked me this question like when I started the channel, I don't think everybody was aware of what was cloud and what was cloud native, to be precise. But I think now a lot of people are aware about how you should think about developing software for the cloud, right? And how cloud native is different from how you had been developing softwares on prem, right? So definitely, yeah, everybody is doing cloud native development. That's what I would say. give me certifications to become technical architect. So it depends on what kind of path you want to go promote, right? I mean, it depends if you want to go towards Azure or AWS or Google Cloud. So depending on the type of cloud platform and also the type of architect you want to become, right? So there are architects where they concentrate only on cloud, so they can do cloud specific certifications. There are architects who who are expertise in like both front end and back end, right? So it will be a mixture of certifications, but these days the cloud certifications are like selling like hotcakes, right? That's what I would say. Anywhere you go and anywhere you see, people are finishing off certifications and then posting it in LinkedIn, because I like a lot of people who post these in LinkedIn, and I see them as well. So obviously, yes, cloud certifications are the go-to these days for an architect, so that you can understand the different cloud services in a particular cloud platform, but then choose the platform based on your requirement, right? So if you're working on AWS, then go for AWS certification. If you're working on Azure, you can go for Azure. If you want to be a multi-cloud guy, then go for everything. Abhijit is asking, what should be my approach to store user points like Flipkart gives on basic of any transaction? Okay, so that's a good question, Abhijit, right? This is like a reward system, right? So the rewards are like, you can get rewards on your credit card spend, you can get rewards on your spending inside. So for example, you have mentioned about the Flipkart use case, right, where we spend a lot of money and then based on that you get points, right? So this could be something similar to how you calculate points when you are in a gaming system or something similar, right? So if somebody does a purchase, once the payment is completed and once you're maybe once after the product is delivered, you have to give some points to the user, right? So obviously you can definitely choose microservices architecture with any relational database also, right? I mean, it depends on your volume, right? If a lot of people are going to be using these points and then they are going to redeem and things like that, then you can definitely go for NoSQL. But if let's say it doesn't make sense for you to go to NoSQL and then you don't want to have like more reads and writes from the database, then you can definitely think about Postgres or something similar, right? Which could be relational database, right? Comparatively. So it's up to you, depending on your use case. Now let's say if it is just user points, let's take an example of AWS, right? So if you're deploying these on AWS, I would say you can directly use DynamoDB, right? Being a serverless database, you can directly store user specific points and transactions, and you can store them, right? But let's say you have a list of transactions, right? You want to store the transactions and you want to stitch these transactions to get some user points. In that case, you will have to think whether you want to have DynamoDB or you want to have some other database, right? Maybe you can have DocumentDB, which is like MongoDB kind of a replacement inside AWS, right? If you're not using AWS, then you can definitely store these in MongoDB, and then you can create nested structures, and you can stitch your transactions together so that you can compute the user points on the fly, right? There are two approaches. One is storing the points after calculating it and then keeping it in a database or keeping it in another table, or have all the transactions in the database, and when the user queries or user hits retrieve or something, that's when you identify how much point the user has and then you show that to the user. So you can have these two kinds of approaches, and obviously you can definitely leverage any microservices based deployment, right? It could be VM, it could be Kubernetes, or it could be deployed in ECS also, right? It depends on which framework you're comfortable with. And the same way with language, you can either use Node.js only, or you can go with Java as a backend, and then you can have a React or Angular kind of a front end as well. So it's up to you, right? It was a long answer, but yeah, I think I pretty much covered almost everything. Okay, so Vijay is asking, currently I'm working on Java and Angular. Should I learn AWS? Definitely, right? I would say depending on your use case, if let's say you're working on Angular and Java, you might be deploying them in some platform, right? It could be AWS, it could be Azure, or maybe Google Cloud. Learn the platform which you're already using and then move to the next platform, right? So if you are deploying to AWS and if you study about Azure, then it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, that's not going to help you. So I would say stick with the nearest platform which you're deploying to. If you're not deploying to any cloud platform, then definitely you can try AWS, because that's the easy one to start with. So Pramod is okay. No question there. What is the next question? By the way, if you just joined, Happy New Year, advance Happy New Year, and Merry Christmas for everyone. Was transitioning into backend recently, so I was looking for some videos and came across your channel. Okay, nice. Thank you, Jackie. Difference between RSocket and Spring Web Socket with okay, Stomp. Is RSocket alternative to Spring Web Socket? Yeah, I mean, it's not like an alternative as such, but it does provide more flexibility, right? I mean, you can directly say it's an alternative as well, right? But you can use WebSockets with RSocket, right? So you have to use some communication protocol for RSocket. You can either use HTTP, you can use TCP, or you can use WebSockets, right? So RSocket is at a higher level. So imagine WebSocket is at the low, TCP is at the lower level, then you have WebSockets, then you have like RSocket, right? So RSocket is like application level protocol where you can control all your interactions between your microservices and your UI and front end and back end and things like that using RSocket from the application code level, right? In WebSockets, you can use WebSocket to do those communication, but you don't have different strategies or interaction models which you have in RSocket, right? So that's the basic difference, Nikhil. Yeah, a lot of Andhra fans. Yeah, Pramod, I can see that. Your microservices playlist actually helped me to lie on my resume and get a job offer about 200% hike. Thank you, man. Thank you, Rupanshu. The only thing is I wouldn't say it's a lie. If you learn something, it's not a lie, right? I mean, maybe you did not work on it, but if you had learned it, if you had learned the basics of anything, I think you can master it anytime. So yeah, congrats on your job switch. From Bihar, following it. Okay, nice, Sandeep. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, audio is a little low, is it? I mean, I reduced the volume of the mic so that you don't get any background noise, because in the last video I saw that you can hear the bike noise and things like that, so that's why I reduced the audio. But yeah, cool. Thank you, Madhu, for the super chat. I generally don't enable super chat, but I don't know, somehow it got enabled. But yeah. Okay. Sainath is saying from Mumbai, following for the last 2 years, mainly learning microservices. Cool. Thank you, Sainath. Something went wrong. Okay. After Saram, it's okay. B on Arnab. I don't know what is your name. Hey, buddy. Thank you. You're from Bangalore. Cool. Nice to meet you. Faridabad. Thank you, Sumit, for joining. Hey, Deepak. Deepak is giving the number. I'm not calling anybody, buddy. Hey, Deepak is from Telangana. Good. Nice to meet you. Okay, I answered this question. Jack is like, I'm from Kolkata. Hey, Jack, how are you? Aniket is like, best way to learn Docker and Kubernetes. So the best way to learn Docker and Kubernetes is by doing some hands-on videos. Aniket, I will show you something. Let me show my screen. I think this sounds, this is better, right? I mean, you can have me as well and the screen share as well. So go to the website called katakoda.com. So you have an interactive way for learning Docker and Kubernetes from here, right? If you don't have a high-end machine, or if you don't have Docker installed in your local machine, you can definitely leverage katakoda.com. Here they have interactive way to learn Docker and Kubernetes. For example, if I say Docker start course, I have different scenarios. For example, I want to build or run some containers, right? I can do that here. If I click on the start scenario, it will have a tutorial kind of a thing, right? And you can do that interactively. So there is an interactive mode where there is a terminal in the right side, and this is a Linux machine, right? I mean, if you look at it, this is a machine, Linux machine. So you have this platform, and it's pretty free, right? I mean, it's completely free. You can leverage it. It'll ask you for logging in. You can just give your Google ID and then just log in. I mean, it's not going to harm you. Recently, Katakoda was bought by O'Reilly, right? So I've been using Katakoda to learn Kubernetes. I found it very useful. Before I installed Minikube in my laptop, I used to do everything in this only. So I used to learn a lot from here. So you can definitely use the same way, and also have a mixture of theoretical videos. So there is a website called cube.academy. So this is a website by VMware. So these are the people who created Kubernetes, who were part of Heptio, which got acquired by VMware. So you can definitely leverage. There are like basic courses only, right? I mean, this will not have an end-to-end course, but you can definitely leverage these for short videos and then getting started, right? And obviously you have YouTube, a lot of videos are there. I have like some videos on Docker and Kubernetes. You can like take a look at that as well. But definitely leverage Katakoda for doing hands-on. So if you don't do any hands-on, then there is no point in learning something. But yeah. So Ayush is asking RSocket documentation for Java. Yeah, there is a documentation called rsocket.io. So if you go to rsocket.io, you can definitely find the Java documentations here, Ayush. So this is where they have all the documentation. You can definitely try out as well. So I need to try out. Once I try and then I'm successful, I will try to make a video on it. But yeah, I'm not getting time for it. But yeah, you can definitely check this, Ayush. If you're interested, go to rsocket.io and then go to the Java space here. How to plan for AWS certification? So yeah, obviously it's a mixture of both learning and hands-on stuff, right? If you are targeting an architect level certification, definitely you don't have to do hands-on as such, but you can look at different videos from Udemy, or maybe in YouTube there are a lot of creators who have posted solution architecture or maybe AWS developer courses, right? I mean, these are courses which you can follow, and then you can definitely get your AWS certification from there. So these are the different ways you can get it done. But yeah, it's not mandatory for you to do hands-on, but if you know a bit of hands-on, it will be easy for you to clear the exam. That's what I see. It's a theoretical exam, so you don't have to worry about hands-on part in the AWS. Most of the exams are like that. So Ajit is asking, what's your thoughts on reactive programming? So reactive programming is pretty useful when you have a use case where you don't have to instantly show users or people in the UI your response, right? I mean, you don't have to instantly allow the user to wait for something and then get back. For example, if I'm having a payment kind of a system, right? I mean, I want to wait until the payment succeeds and then show that message to the user, right? I mean, that's where I won't use a reactive programming. Because the user might think that, okay, what's happening in the background, right? The user needs to be told that this is what is happening, right? So that's where reactive programming might not make sense. Or at least in the UI side, you will have to make sure that the user feels it's synchronous, right? So that way he knows that, okay, he's going to get a response. And if something doesn't happen, you will have to have a timeout and then you have to fail it. So it depends on your use case. So reactive programming is just another stream or the architectural style or your coding style. Like how functional programming came into existence, it became a huge hype. But not everybody started using functional programming. Even now, I see a lot of people still not using functional style, right? I mean, it depends on your use case and depends on how you want to structure your architecture. I want to upgrade, currently working on Java and Angular. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can definitely do that, Vijay. I mean, you can learn anything. I mean, just target whatever you want to learn and then create a learning path for you and then start from there. Tips for 2+ years of Java developer. I mean, if you had followed all my videos with the 2+ years of experience, you're already a pro, right? I mean, that's what I would say. So whatever whatever videos I'm making, I've just learned it over the last 10 years, right? I mean, when I started in 2010 from my out of college. So if you're already learning whatever I'm making in YouTube, whatever videos I'm just posting, I mean, with respect to architecture, with respect to hands-on, anything of that sort, I mean, you're already passing your 2+ years of experience and you're on par with other developers. That's what I would say, Nilesh. Okay, hold on. Most of the people in my class use Python, and very few, including me, use Java as a primary language. I'm worried that I will get placed on Java and knowledge in the campus placement with a project Java base. Okay, Sunny. The thing is, I created this channel for professionals, but it's good to see a college grad who is following my channel. But yeah, thanks for following Tech Primers. But the thing is, you don't have to worry about the language, right? I mean, it doesn't matter what language you work on. See, when I started programming, I started with Java, but now I can code on any language. I can do JavaScript, I can do Python, I can do Golang as well, right? So it doesn't matter what language you start your career with. It all depends on your college. It all depends on your company, right? I mean, though you might get placed in a company with Java project, if let's say you're still interested in Python, you can definitely switch over, right? I mean, you can. It's all up to you, right? I mean, maybe in Java you might like something which you didn't like it in Python, or maybe you have a different path waiting for you in your first company, right? I mean, you cannot like predict everything, so it's okay. I mean, hold your breath. At least know one language, right? I mean, when you're in college, you should learn at least 1 or 2 language, right? I mean, if you know Python, it's okay. I mean, that's fine. If you know Java, I think you know Java, right? I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's most of the college grads are using Python because I don't know. I'm not against any language, by the way, before telling anything. I feel Python is very lazy language. It's easy for people to get started, but if you know Java, it gives you some kind of what do you call, I forgot the term, but it'll show you a different way in which you can code, or because it creates a streamlined circle for you. In Java, in Python you can do in 100 different ways, but in Java you will have to do, or you will have to follow some specific pattern or decorum, right? I mean, obviously you will have to learn a lot in Java as well, but still I would say learning multiple languages will help you. And like I said, like learning Python is not a big deal, right? I mean, I learned Python during this lockdown, right? I mean, before that also I know Python, but still I learned it like in depth, right? If you look at I don't know where I kept, so I had a Python playground, right? I mean, I didn't touch it recently, but then I was having a plan like this. I learned Python in like 15 days. I was doing hands-on kind of stuff. I used to know about pip environments and stuff like that a year earlier, but then I wanted to do it in terms of creating it from the scratch, right? So I did during the lockdown I just started this, right? I mean, day 1, day 2 and things like that. As a part of 21-day lockdown, I started learning Python. This is what I did, right? So you can definitely learn Python in a month, so it's not a big deal. So it should be okay, man. Chill. Prashant is asking, is serverless architecture has future? Do we need to spend time on this? Obviously serverless is going to be the future, right? I mean, it may not be useful right now. You may not see a lot of people using it right now, but definitely it's going to be the future, right? I mean, because you don't have to pay for your compute unless or until you use it, right? So serverless is basically when you use it, you just pay for it. It's somewhat similar to how you have like these bike sharing, right? I mean, you go and rent a bike and then you just use the bike. That's what serverless means. You don't have to worry about maintaining that bike, servicing that bike, all those things. You just pay for whatever you use. So same way, when you are going to use compute only for a particular point in time and then you're just not going to use it later, that's what is serverless. So obviously that's going to be the future. Thank you, Aniket, for the donation. Oh, Chaitanya is like, what technologies need to learn for 15 years of experience, Java experienced guy? So it depends on your expertise, right, Chaitanya? It's not like just learning, but 15 years of experience, I would suggest, I mean, you would want to become an architect, or maybe you want to become a manager, you want to become a lead. I mean, it depends on your career interest, right? I mean, let's say if you want to become an architect, obviously you will have to understand different architectural patterns and things like that. So it's up to you, right? That's what I would say. But definitely there are a lot of different learning paths. Like if you look at my channel itself, I have a mixture of architecture plus coding videos, right? I mean, if you look at golden signals, you don't need to know golden signals if you're a developer, right? But if you know them, you can become an architect easily. You can become a lead engineer. You will think about how an architect will design, or think of how you will be monitoring your application in production, right? So if you are a developer and if you know these, then you will be very conscious in developing stuff, right? It's the same way with caching architectures, or maybe these event-driven architectures, right? I mean, if you know these architectures, that's when you can completely say, okay, you are an architect, right? You will have to look at all those architectural stuff, Chaitanya, as well, because I'm pretty sure in 15 years of Java experience, you would have already coded a lot. Mile is asking, bro, can you do a code demonstration of Saga pattern? If you already done it, can you please? Yeah, it's been one of the most asked video, Mile, but the only thing is, if somebody does it and then gives it, I mean, it's a good thing, but nobody is doing it. It's been a year since I made the Saga video, but I thought at least somebody will be out of their own interest create the program so that I can share it with others. But then I'm not finding time as well, and I don't need to create it immediately because I'm not using the Saga pattern as such anywhere. So I did not create it, but a lot of people are asking for it. Maybe you can create one and then give it to me, and then I can share your code with others in the group, right? I have done that. I mean, I have done a lot of sharing like that. I mean, whatever people had created, I have just shared it with people so that they can leverage your code. But yeah, right now I don't have anything to share, unfortunately. So I'm a front-end dev, but looking to become a back-end dev, learning Golang, but unsure if I may be able to land a job because no back-end experience as such. See, that's okay. I mean, if it depends on your job description, right? I mean, most of the time it depends on the supply and demand, right? Even if you know maybe cloud or you know backend, if there is no job for backend and cloud, then obviously you will have to leverage whatever is there in the JD, right? I mean, if you go with a full stack kind of an experience where you have both front end and back end, definitely you can go to any site, right? You can become a UI guy as well, and then you can become a back end guy as well. When I started my career, I was a backend guy. I didn't know front end, because that time front end was never a thing, right? I mean, mostly in the front end we used to do just JavaScript validation, but now front end is a big thing where you have a dedicated front end developer and things like that. But yeah, obviously we will have to become a full stack developer to learn what's happening in the front end as well. In fact, my next video will be on front end only. Right, I've been preparing for it. I will not tell the topic, but yeah, it will be a surprise. But that's the thing. So it should be okay. I mean, learning Golang, I mean, if you learn Golang, it's okay. But the only thing is, you should look at how many companies or how many jobs are available in your area for Golang, right? So based on that, you can learn. But I wouldn't say it will harm you, or it will do anything harm for your career, but then just that it might slow down your job search, right? I mean, it might not be easy for you to flip between front end and then Golang suddenly, because not everybody might be using Golang. If you're targeting startups, definitely they might use Golang, right? But that also depends on your geographical location, where you're located and where your companies are located, right? So that also matters. So what kind of projects should I do to catch recruiters' attention? See, one thing is doing projects. The other thing is going to meetups and then talking about these projects, right? The easiest way to get attention from recruiters is to do something like what I used to do, the evangelism, right? I mean, you can go to meetups and talk about something which you know, go and attend meetups, go and attend conferences. You will get a different perspective of how developers approach and things like that, right? So definitely do that as well. That's what I would say. It's not just certification and then just doing coding and then sitting along. It's about sharing as well, like what you know. That's what I think. Rupansh is asking, how do we handle the case where Kafka consumer is processing a transaction and then failed? How do you handle the failure? So this is where, I mean, I had a topic to be made. I don't know when I will make, but then you can have something called as break queues, right? So one is, you can take this message and then put that into a break queue. So break queue could be like a failure queue, which could be another queue where you have list of failed transactions, and the reason for that could be within your application. And as an application processing engine, you should be able to understand why that particular transaction failed, and can I reprocess that transaction, right? So the failure for that particular transaction could be some of the APIs which that transaction was hitting could be down, or maybe payment gateway was down, or whatever, right? I mean, if you retry the transaction, will it succeed? That's what you should ask your system, right? If your system can retry and then it can succeed, but at a later point in time, definitely you can put it in another queue, and then you can allow another consumer, right? You can write another consuming process which can just retry or do what do you call lookups again and again, right? It's like a retry logic only, but then it can be in a separate queue, right? That could be one kind of a scenario. The other could be, let's say you don't know what is the reason and you can't reprocess it. In that case, you can persist that in a database. You can store that message in a database. You can store it in an encrypted fashion if you have a lot of information which you don't want to expose and things like that. But it's up to you, right? You can have both the ways as well. So you can just take the transaction out of the Kafka queue and then put it in a separate transaction for retrying, or keep it in the database and then have an exceptional flow, right? Maybe at the end of the day, it can generate a report and then send you as a mail, or it can send the consumer's mail saying these are the things which got failed and things like that, right? You can just tell the producers, right? I mean, because producer is the guy who's going to send you the message. If you want him to change the message, you can send that message to the producer, and then producer needs to act upon your message, and then he can correct that message. You can do that as well. Hey, Haman is asking, Postgres versus MongoDB. Both are different kind of databases. Postgres is a relational database. MongoDB is a NoSQL database. I don't think it's fair to compare both these, right? So MongoDB supports document kind of storage. Postgres has a relational schema, right? So your schema is defined. You have to define your schema or your table structure. In MongoDB, you don't have to do that. That's the basic difference. Does organization uses AWS free tier for dev, sit, and UAT? No, I don't think so. You will have to. AWS free tier comes only for like 12 months, right, Abhijit? I mean, you will definitely use it only for 12 months. But then after that free tier, there are services which are always free, right? I mean, if you look at AWS free tier, right, there are always free services. You can, obviously every company will leverage those, but it depends, right? I mean, most of the time we will exceed that. See this, right? There is something called always free. So there are some services which are always free. See this, right? There is this term called 12-month free, right? These are things which are free only for 12 months. But for example, Lambda, you can get 1 million Lambda always free. All right. I mean, those are the ones which will be like leveraged for any organization, right? Monthly 1 million is free for every organization. So that's always free. Rupanshu is asking, can we also have a playlist on micro front end, server side rendering, and that two side of? Yeah, I'm planning to do that next, Rupanshu. I mean, slowly I'll do that. I want to learn Azure, but I don't know how. I don't know from where I start. Yeah, sure, James. I also learned Azure on out of my own interest. The good thing about Azure is the documentation for Azure is amazing, right? I mean, uh, if you go to the documentation here, search for Azure documentation and go to Azure documentation, you can learn about all the cloud services which they provide from here, right? If you want to target a specific certification or something, you can definitely search for that particular certification. For example, last week I cleared the AZ204 exam, so I used to read this particular course, right? I mean, it's basically a learning path from Microsoft. It had all these services, right? I mean, if you go through these learning path, I mean, it's amazing. There are a mixture of hands-on plus theoretical videos, but then the theoretical text, the only difference is it's all text, right? I mean, you'll have to read them, right? That's the only boring part if you like the videos. But I would say start off with the documentation from Microsoft itself. Pick up the service which you want to learn and then dig deep into it. That's what I would say, James. How session management works in application when calling third-party APIs like JustPay or RazorPay. So obviously these APIs will definitely provide you a way to get a session or something. That's how you can leverage it, but generally you will have to manage your session, right? I mean, the APIs will provide you, the APIs will have its own session, and then they will maintain their own what do you call the timeout period or your buffer period on how long your token is valid and things like that. But if you're using session management, or if you need session management for your application, you will have to use your own session management. You cannot leverage theirs, right? So that's the thing. How to choose which DB have to use in microservices. Like, okay, so Sandeep, I don't know if you had seen my video on cap theorem. All right, so this specific video, if you see here, this cap theorem video, this video shows off how you can choose which database and what are the different strategies in choosing a database, right? I mean, I would suggest you to take a look at this particular video. Go to the youtube.com/techprimers and then you can take a look at cap theorem. Oops. Okay. Buy coffee. Buy a coffee from. Cool. Thank you, Madhu. I mean, thanks for the tip. Definitely, I'll buy a coffee. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Madhu. I learned cloud computing, basic computing concepts, and started on AWS, but it's very large, and I'm confused where to start. Yeah, Nikhil. So the only easy way to start is go to AWS free tier and then just look at what's free and then just start from there. I mean, the easiest way to start these days are lambdas, right? I mean, because lambdas are always free, you can definitely have like 1 million lambdas triggered and then things like that. So kick off with lambda and then just start from there, and then slowly move towards EC2. What is that? Then what you can do is you can jump to DynamoDB, because DynamoDB is another easy way to get started. It's a key value store based database from Amazon. Then you can go to RDS. So that way you can slowly move to things. Then you can go to auto scaling. Then you can go to EBS, your storage and things like that. Slowly go from compute, and then you can slowly increase your complexity and then move ahead, right? But start with Lambda, then move to EC2, DynamoDB, then RDS, then storage and things like that. Can you please update your Spring Boot playlist? I used Code Cloud. That kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, update in the sense these are like you want to upgrade the version of Spring Boot. I would suggest you to do it. I can just give you a kickstart for your learning for Spring Boot, but yeah, I'm not actively maintaining any of these, right? So yeah. How do you learn the documentation? Do you have any tips? It comes with experience, Ayush, right? I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, if you look at initially, obviously it was very boring. I never used to read books, right? Obviously, as an Indian student, you would hate books, right? Because we have been reading it for a long time. So just like that, I also used to hate books, but then over a period of time it became a habit, and then it just like it's easy for you to just read. I mean, you can, I don't just read everything, but then you can understand what are the key terms, and if it looks interesting, then I just go into it. Maybe I sometimes skip a lot of important things, but then it feels like easy for you to just eyeball it and then just go through the documentation very quickly, right? I mean, that's the thing. And if you know how to Google search quickly, then you can definitely scrap and get the right documentation for your use case, right? I mean, that's what is the tip I have for you. Hey Trinath, how are you? What next after Kubernetes? What to learn? Yeah, obviously you should learn AWS, man. I mean, AWS or Azure, right? I would say learn either AWS or Azure, or maybe Google Cloud, whichever makes sense. I would say learn AWS. I think you finished the AWS certification, right? I don't know, I forgot. But yeah, you can do that. If that's boring, then learn about architectures, right? That's what I would say, Trinath. Rahul is asking, is it good to move towards Golang from Java? It depends, right? I mean, what kind of career you want to create, right, Rahul? I mean, I don't know. I have not seen many enterprises using Golang as such, but definitely people are trying to use Golang, right? You cannot directly replace Java with Golang because you may not get the same kind of support or the reusable libraries or architectures or patterns which you had in Java in Golang, right? I mean, you will have to struggle a bit, but if you have a use case or if you have your current work which needs Golang, definitely do Golang, or else you can just learn it as a hobby, right? I mean, that's what you can do if you are interested still, right? But I don't say, I mean, it will replace Java with your Golang. You can definitely try that for learning purpose, but I'm not sure if that will make sense. Your thoughts on Quick protocol? Okay, I have never heard of it. General purpose layer, transport layer protocol initially designed by at Google. I think Quix is used by gRPC, right? I don't know. Is it Road to Quick? I read about it somewhere. I think I read an article few weeks ago, I think. Maybe wants to speed up the web. Yeah, this is the new protocol which they are using, UDP, right? Yeah, right. Instead of using TCP, they are trying to use UDP. I don't know. I'll just wait for it, Venkat. Right? I mean, I have not looked at it. I read the news initially, but then I didn't go in deep because I don't know how many frameworks are going to come over that, right? I mean, mostly for TCP itself, there are like tons of frameworks. If you look at it, WebSocket, HTTP, RSocket, and so many are there. With Quick, again, you will have to create multiple layers and multiple levels of frameworks or abstractions so that you can survive, right? So I don't know. I will wait for it. Already we are not using all the necessary sockets and HTTPs in an effective manner. That's what I think. Hey Raj, how are you, man? Long time. How we can reach out to you when you have issues? I'm not a production support guy to reach out anytime, but you can just ping me in LinkedIn or Twitter. Last few days back, I was doing a POC on Jenkins Slave and I had an issue, Googled also, but I have not got solution. Finally, I got the solution. Okay, so you can definitely reach out, but then obviously I won't be available for answering all your questions. But if I look at it, I can definitely do that. Ping me in LinkedIn or Twitter. How do you keep yourself motivated on side projects like your YouTube channel without procrastination? I mean, obviously everybody does get that. So what I do is I just look at Netflix and then I just chill for a day and then get that mind out of my head, and then the next day I just move on. I mean, obviously there will be some other things which will pull you down. That's when you realize, okay, YouTube was better or whatever was better, or your side projects were better, and then you just come back to it, right? I mean, if the side projects are too much, I also get that, right? I mean, for example, in the recent times you see that I'm not making that many videos, right? I mean, obviously I'm getting distracted. I try to get distracted. I try to make myself busy by looking at something else, right? I generally look at Netflix, a lot of web series. I go through a lot of content. I consume a lot of content. So that's how I keep myself motivated. Or just listen to music, right? Nowadays, I'm not listening to any podcasts as such. Earlier, I used to listen to podcasts when I'm traveling and things like that. But nowadays, I mean, I'm just sitting in the same place during the weekday as well. So it's very boring. So yeah, motivation is a big factor. But yeah, you can try whatever I tried. Please make the complete series on RSocket with Microsoft. Sure, I will definitely try. Ayush, I don't guarantee anything because I don't generally create courses, right? I mean, I create videos for the purpose of learning, not to, provide a course to make money out of it, right? I mean, I'm not going to create an end-to-end series. Obviously, I want you to try out something else as well. If I spoon feed you with everything, then what will you do, right? I mean, you will just look at my next video. You will be just waiting for my videos rather than you trying out stuff. You'll be waiting for my videos as well. So that's why I'm not making, sometimes I just wait for people to try out, right? For example, Omkar is one guy who tried out already RSocket, and then he just said that after looking at your video, I tried my hands-on and then it was very good, right? I mean, I want you to try out. That's what you should do, right? I mean, you should not wait for everybody to spoon feed, right? Every single time. You should try out on your own as well. But yeah, I'll try definitely. Thoughts on cold starts in serverless functions? Yeah, that's the biggest disadvantage, Jackie. That's a good question. Obviously, everybody is trying to work around with the cold starts, right? A lot of teams were using health check endpoints and then keeping the servers warm, which was like an anti-pattern. But now Amazon has come up with something like warm standby, right? I mean, where you can have a standby during a particular period of time where your servers will be already up and running, right? So it depends on your use case. You cannot use serverless right now for every use case, right? Maybe it will make sense for batch processing applications or event driven applications, but I feel if you have a website or something and if you have too many users using it, or you will have slight cold start issue, definitely, right? If you can live with that issue, then it's okay. But if you cannot live with the cold start issue, definitely you should try alternatives, right? I mean, serverless is not the solution for every problem, right? So you should think of alternatives as well. Java full stack 5 years guy, what should have, what to have, how to move to product based? See, all these are like very specific towards companies, very specific towards individuals and things like that. If I give an answer, it will be just like a generic answer, right? I mean, it will may never make sense. I can just say, oh, 5 years guy should do this and things like that, but then it doesn't make sense if you go to a realistic product or project, right, or a company, right? So if you want to go towards product based, definitely the expectations might be slightly higher than what you had done in your service based companies, but definitely you should know a little bit of lead level stuff and then architecture level stuff as well, right? You should get an end to end understanding of how the product functions, what are the different what do you call, corners where you will have to think about and things like that, right? So it's not just doing your work and then keeping your work done, right? I mean, it's beyond that. You should look around what can be improved in your product and things like that. I mean, there are a lot of different factors, but I mean, if I answer it, it'll be very generic enough. But yeah, you should look at beyond what you have been doing currently. That's what I would say. What kind of side projects can one make who has just started the career in cloud? Okay. The only easiest thing is obviously definitely use serverless because it's easy to start with and you don't have to put any money as such, right? When you're starting your career, definitely try out with creating a website, right, with a database, right? You can have a small UI with the backend and then create a database. That itself, if you do, you will know what are the different challenges. Doing that in your work is different. Doing it yourself end to end is completely different, right? I mean, in your workspace, somebody else might be doing the configuration, somebody else might be doing your server side stuff and things like that, right? I mean, you might not do the same in your personal project. You will have to take care of everything, right? So that's where it differentiates. It gives you a different perspective of how end to end things are stitched together, right? So that's what I would say to start off with. Do something end to end, it doesn't matter, but involve slowly your integration points, right? Let's say you have a web tier, introduce your backend tier, introduce your database tier and things like that, right? I mean, slowly introduce complicated stuff into your architecture and you can learn end to end easily. Can you suggest me a Udemy course for AWS Architect Certification? You can definitely try Stefan's course and then Alan Rodrigues course, right? I mean, I followed the Alan Rodrigues course for Azure. It was good, right? I mean, you can do, I mean, I'm still following the AWS course for him from him because I understood his tone and the way he takes his courses. It's up to you, right? I mean, try Stefan's one and Ryan's one. I felt like the Stefan's one was boring, right? I mean, I was like sleeping sometimes when I was going through the course myself. So, I mean, that's my perspective. I mean, a lot of people are giving good comments about him, but I don't know, right? It's my view. How can we do distributed transaction in microservices? Any design pattern through which we could achieve? Yeah, so that is where Stargaz could help you with distributed transaction, Raj, right? I mean, if you go to microservices.io, you can get all the microservices patterns which you want to look at, right? And Sagas is where you can have distributed transactions across microservices and you can control them. So where are yeah, this one. So this is the one. You go to microservices.io and then search for Saga and that's what you're looking for. I had a video on it. I think it's a theoretical video. That's why people are asking for hands-on now. But yeah, you can check that and then try out Raj. Yeah, this one. Being financially stable helps a lot. When you don't get paid for something, it's difficult to justify the time expenditure. Yeah, so see, he's answering Ajit Kumar's question. Hey, I'm a beginner. Hey, Sujan, and I have some questions about testing and dependency injection situation. Let's say I have a interface and multiple implementation. Okay, the implementation might have some dependencies, but they are not defined in the interface. Okay. Question 1: in the unit testing, should I write test cases for all the implementation, or should I write a base test case class and extend that? That's a very good question. I mean, a lot of people get carried away with abstract classes and then have a base test class and then write implementation. It depends, right? I mean, if you have very less number of cases, I mean, if you have 2 classes, obviously you can definitely create a base class. The problem happens when you have to maintain it, right? How frequently are you going to add more implementation, and how frequently are you going to change these implementations or the interfaces, right? If you're not going to change them for a long time, then it's fine, right? If you're going to create hundreds and hundreds of implementation like these, or hundreds and hundreds of classes like these, then it doesn't make sense to create a base class, right? I mean, sometimes if you refactor, things will break, right? But then I would say creating a base test class is okay, depending on your use case. I hated that base test class scenario, right? I mean, most of the time you will just inject some specific values and you will calculate only small logic, and then for that the whole test will run, right? I mean, if you look at your build time for running these test cases when you have hundreds of implementation, then it will take a lot of time, right? So it depends on your use case. If you think there are very less number of multiple implementations for that interface, definitely create a base class, right? Because when you create a base class for a test, it will be able to reduce your code duplication, right? I mean, obviously we are trying to do a duplication, but it's not source code, it's test code. So it's a two-way thing, right? I mean, you can definitely use base classes. Somebody will say, okay, don't use base classes because that kind lead you to maintenance headache, right? It's true, right? But look at your code. Does it make sense? Have an open mind to refactor it later, right? I mean, don't get too attached to writing a base class and not deleting it later point in time, right? I mean, I have deleted so many classes in a period of like 2-3 months, which I realized, okay, it doesn't make sense, right? After creating it. So it's okay. But great question. Okay, there are too many questions, I think. Where is the next question? Okay. Node.js or Python, which has more opportunities? I mean, I cannot answer this question. If I answer it, I mean, it will be wrong, Mahendra, right? I mean, it depends on your geographical location, Mahendra. So where are you from, right? I mean, if you're from Bangalore, definitely you will see more Node.js than Python, right? I mean, it depends. If you're looking for enterprises might look at Node.js than Python a lot, right? I mean, most of the automation and stuffs are still done with Python, but if let's say you are in a startup kind of a space, then you will have both, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. If you know either of them, you can definitely learn the other one depending on the use case or your need in the company, right? So I cannot answer this question. If I say this, it will be completely wrong, right? So Ayush is saying socket.io for Java, can you make a video on the series? Yeah, sure, definitely I can try. I saw that like some time back, but I didn't see anywhere people are using it, right? I mean, generally I try to see who uses it and then I try to do it, right? I mean, it's something similar to WebSockets, right? I mean, it's a layer around WebSocket. That's what I saw that time, but I didn't go in depth into it. But I can check, Ayush. Do you recommend investment banks to work as a Java developer? Do you want me to answer that question? Have you seen my LinkedIn profile? I don't know if you had seen my LinkedIn profile, but why not, right? I mean, if you want to work in a company where you are challenged a lot, definitely you should try working there, right? I mean, I have worked in so many investment banks. Why not, right? What's your learning strategy for 2021? Hey Jaga, how are you? So that's a question which I have not thought about. But my learning strategy is simple, right? I mean, obviously targeting one cloud platform at a time, and I have done that. Now the alternate thing is I had target another cloud platform, which was Azure. So now I know AWS and Azure. My learning strategy for 2021 is Google Cloud, right? I mean, that's the next one. And then along with it, I would want to learn Terraform and then corresponding automation related stuff, right? And parallelly, obviously I would learn in Java, obviously there is nothing much happening with Java. Very little changes are happening. I don't have to spend like months to learn Java or anything which is new, but I would want to spend months in learning some new cloud platform like Google Cloud in depth and clear some certifications over there, Terraform, etc., right? Mostly on the DevOps automation space, which you can relate to as well. So that's the learning strategy for 2021. It's going to be Google Cloud, Terraform related stuff, but not leaving anything on the UI and the backend, right? I will still do or learn keep on updating what's happening in the UI and the backend space with Spring Boot and things like that. But yeah, great question. How to leak an how to leak a password? Why do you want to leak a password? Dumb tricks, right? I mean, why should you leave it? I mean, if you expose a rogue code, definitely that can leak it, right? Thoughts on Hacktoberfest and its impact on open source contribution, and also book recommendation for Spring. Books are becoming stale these days, Naveen, right? I mean, there are good books by I mean, even Josh Long is creating a book. I don't know if he has launched that already, right? Reactive Spring, I guess that's the book. But I generally follow books which are given for free in the conferences. I attend a lot of conferences, right? So there I look at PDFs which they provide or circulate for free. I look at them as books, but generally I don't prefer reading books because documentation can be easily updated when it is on the web, right? Rather than it is on the book. So that's about that question. On the Hacktoberfest, I saw somebody creating a pull request with a dot in my GitHub repo, right? I mean, I don't think it makes sense to just say that as an open source contribution. Open source contribution should be something like what I'm doing, right? I mean, or maybe community contribution. So whatever I'm doing is not open source contribution. Whatever I'm doing is community contribution, right? I'm helping open source products to deliver that to like developers, right? I'm helping them know them better, trying them. For example, Spring Boot, Spring is not paying me anything, right? I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm just helping developers to know Spring Boot. It's an open source or a community contribution. That's what I call it. Open source contribution is when you contribute to the code of Spring Boot, right? To help that particular product go beyond what's happening right now without anything in return, right? So that's the open source kind of thing. But with Hacktoberfest, I saw a lot of people were just creating pull requests with dot, comma, adding a meaningful grammatical mistakes and things like that. That's not open source contribution. Maybe that will help you in getting started, but you should just contribute to a project meaningfully, right? That's what I feel. That's what I saw, right? That's my honest thing, Naveen. Hey Ratna, how are you? Hey Kunal, is mastering software tools necessary like Kafka, Kubernetes, etc.? Generally speaking, in software, so if you want to become an architect, it is necessary, Kunal. You're just starting your career right now, right? I mean, if you don't have to know all these unless or until you use them, right? For example, in your current team, if they're already using Kafka, you can definitely look at the basics of Kafka, right? So that you can get a fair understanding of what is Kafka when somebody is talking about it, right? I mean, when people are talking about Kafka, when you are in a group, you will not understand it if you don't know what is Kafka. Same with Kubernetes, right? I mean, you can get to know the basics, but then you don't have to go deep into it, right? Unless or until you require it, right? So that's what I would say. Get to know the basics of it, and then dig deep into it only when you require it, right? And only when you need it, right? That's the easiest way to keep things up to date. I mean, that's what I do, right? I mean, I get to know the basics of things and then keep myself up to date on what's happening. And if I need something in depth, I just jump into it anytime, right? That's the easiest way. How we can able to deal with internal politics? Okay, I'm not a pro in terms of dealing with politics and things like that. I'm a developer, Rahul, like you as well. See, you cannot do much about all these, right? I mean, obviously the only thing you can go around by dealing with internal politics is showing what you can do, right? I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, that's the only thing. And then creating your network, right? I mean, create networks and then be good with people, right? I mean, if you show bad things to people, obviously people will be against you, right? I mean, I feel like you should be good with people, right? I mean, there is no grudge against anybody, right? He's also getting paid, you're also getting paid. Everybody is equal in this world. Everybody is a colleague. Yeah. Bro, how to add a custom PHP feedback page on the WordPress website? Okay, so there are different plugins for it. There are custom feedback plugins which you can integrate. Like there is Contact Us plugin. You can leverage that in WordPress. Search for it and then you should be able to get that, Harshit. Which encryption technology is better, RSA, Bouncy Castle, or AES? I'm not expert in that, Mahesh. I have used AES. AES is the default security mechanism. RSA, I mean, obviously we use RSA tokens in terms of logging in, but I've never heard of Bouncy Castle, right? I'm not an expert in the security domain as such. You should definitely ask somebody who's an expert in the security area, right, to answer that question. But yeah, not every company will expose what algorithm they are using in terms of encrypting and storing things in the backend, right? You will have flexibility to do that in the cloud, but underneath, if a cloud platform is using some other technology, they will not reveal it. Do you work for any freelance project? No, I don't work for any freelance project, Jack. I work in a company like you. Costa, hey, how are you? Oh, one question to get your feedback. When moving legacy databases, do you prefer moving into containerized platform or keeping your DB on premises or any other hybrid cloud solution? Obviously, it depends on the budget cost though, so nothing is depending on us, right? I mean, everything is depending on the budget, what you get, right? If you, let's say, get 3 months to develop and move your data from on-prem into cloud, you can definitely do it. If you have less time, obviously you cannot move everything. You can just containerize your application, move it to the cloud, and slowly move your database once you are done, right? I mean, that's what I would prefer. It depends on your strategy. It depends on your company strategy. There are so many factors, right? I mean, as an individual or a developer, you cannot take individual decisions in terms of all these. But yeah, that's the truth. If you're creating your own company, you can definitely go towards moving it in one go. But yeah, you should have a transitional strategy, right? That's what I would say. Sujan, okay. What are your thoughts on Spring Web Flux? Is it being used in the industry? In which project should I use Spring Web Flux instead of normal? Obviously, a lot of people are using Spring Web Flux. In fact, everybody is moving towards Spring Web Flux since it is new. You can do functional style along with the reactive whenever you require it, right? If you ask me, is it being used in the industry? Obviously, yes, right? I mean, I can see that it's being used in the industry. If not, why would so many people ask me to make a video on Spring Web Flux, right? I mean, I've seen so many people wanting to look at videos on Spring Web Flux. Definitely, it is used in the industry. That is why it is being popular. If you go to Stack Overflow and look at the number of questions or errors which people are getting in posting, definitely you can look at how many people are using it in the industry. Definitely, yeah. Which is more popular, React versus Angular? So the other question I think I didn't answer. So why should I use Spring Web Flux instead of web, right? So along with Spring Web Flux, you get different flavors of your clients, right? For example, we might be using REST templates with Spring Web, but with Web Flux, you might be able to use web clients and things like that. You can have a different, what do you call, or the latest version of your client framework which Spring has introduced, right? And obviously REST template doesn't cater to every kind of use case with reactive programming, but you can use web clients which can do reactive and also like synchronous programming, right? So you can definitely use both in Web Flux. That's why people go to Web Flux. It's easy for you to flip between reactive programming and synchronous calls, right? With Web Flux, that's the advantage of Web Flux. With Spring Web, right, you will have to stick to like only one particular implementation. That's the reason people use Web Flux compared to Spring Web. Hey Kuldeep, which is more popular, React versus Angular? Which do you think which is long run player? See, like I said, I don't create these products, and we are neither people who decide these strategies, or we don't put money in any of these. If I answer it, it might make sense temporarily, but I would say you should just choose whatever you need based on your use case, right? I mean, if you want to have a UI with both, if you want to have your end-to-end framework with everything embedded, then you can go for Angular. You want to have a mixture of different frameworks and you want to have it more flexible and faster, then you can definitely use React, right? I mean, it's up to you. That's what I would say. If you want to answer me this question, I don't think I am the right person. And no one can answer this, right? I mean, even Facebook and Google cannot answer this. I mean, it depends on the popularity. There are so many things which are involved. If you ask me if will COVID go away in the next 1 month, can you answer that question? I mean, it's like that, right? Honestly, that's the example I can give you currently. It's unfortunate, but that's the truth. I mean, it depends. You can use either of them, and you can't tell which one will withstand in the longer run. I would say it's specific to the use case. Maybe in the future somebody will replace with a new framework. What is Apache Beam? So Apache Beam is for stream processing, right, and batch processing. You can definitely use Apache Beam for your big data workloads and then processing them within the big data ecosystem SI. So that's where you can use Apache Beam. So you can Google it. I've never used Apache Beam, but I've heard about it, right? I mean, you can definitely use it for see this, right, data processing workflows. So you can use it for ETL, batch processing, and stream processing. So you can connect to Kafka, consume messages, process them, and then publish onto another Kafka topic, or process into something like HBase or something, right? You can do that. focus in node future. I mean, like I said, Arjun, if you had heard about it, I mean, there is nothing on any specific topic. If I feel I'm interested in something, I try to make that specific thing, but there is nothing specific on what is going to be the future or something, right? I mean, things will coexist. That's what I can say you. Should I use Maven multi-module project in a microservices based system for sharing common interface? That's a very good question. Obviously, within it depends again. What is your strategy, right? I mean, if you have multiple microservices, if you have like 30-40 microservices, how big is your code base, right? I mean, sometimes you will want to have a trade-off between, can I deploy my individual multi-module or individual module as a separate microservice, or should I deploy them in one go, right? I mean, a lot of times I have seen build systems not supporting it, right? You will have like 10 different microservices in the same repo. You have a common module which is shared across these 10 different microservices, but then you don't have a capability to deploy only one microservice. Then what's the point in creating this as a microservice, right? If you have dependency in deploying all of them together, right? So that's not microservice. That's just modular code base. You deploy them as individual services, right? Or you deploy them as a monolithic service. Deploy them in one go, but you have them running in separate microservice environment. So it's up to you, right? Keeping it as a separate module will help you create modular structure, which makes sense. That's what I feel. Because later on, if you want to put that into a separate repo, you can just take only that module and then put it into a separate repo. By using, okay, Venkateshwara, I mean, if you look at it, there is nothing specific on K8 as logging as such. You can definitely search for log4j2 video and then just use it, right? I mean, there is nothing I can specifically show about making a video for an video on log4j2. Just use the log4j2 dependency in a Spring Boot project and done, right? I mean, you don't have to worry about anything. The only difficulty could be, how do you ship logs from Kubernetes to outside, right? I mean, if you're already using Linkerd kind of systems, then you can leverage existing ones. But if you're using Splunk or something, you will have to deploy your daemon, which can just push it into a Kafka topic and things like that. Can I switch in Java MVC after 8 years? I don't know, Saurabh. I don't know what I will do next year itself, right? I mean, I cannot predict the future, but it depends, right? I mean, obviously Spring will be there. That's what I think. I don't think you can directly change MVC after 8 years just like that. I worked in support project. Okay, so you're asking in your experience, right? Oh my, you can definitely switch to anything, right? I mean, you don't have much knowledge. Okay, you're 8 years experience and then you want to switch from support role to this. You can definitely switch, but then people would ask you for experience since you had 8 years. But then if you're able to justify that by creating some part-time projects side projects, then definitely you can show that as a reference, right? I mean, a lot of people acknowledge that. You can definitely show that. Okay, it's been 1 hour. I think I'll stop answering. I mean, please stop posting more questions so that I can answer everything and I can have 100% success ratio. But yeah. So Gagan is asking, I'm starting my career in Azure Cloud. What can I expect my future to be like in around 5 to 7 years? Obviously, for 5 to 7 years, obviously Azure is going to be around, right? I mean, now only people are starting to use clouds, and I'm not sure it's going to be changing radically, right, that quickly from one cloud to another. Obviously, you will be like a cloud engineer. You will definitely be like, if you ask me 20 years ago, people were learning Linux servers, right, full time, right? Now cloud has become a full-time thing. So it's just another shift towards managing on-prem systems to cloud, right? I don't see any difference. So it should be good. Your views on Keycloak with Spring Boot microservices? Yeah, Keycloak is another authentication service. Definitely it is a SaaS provider kind of a thing, right? You can use Auth0, you can use Keycloak, you can use any of it. I mean, it's just another strategy, Rajesh, right? I mean, I can't give my view specifically, but yeah, if your company uses it, definitely use it. I mean, there are so many alternatives, right? There should be some reason why Keycloak is used. You just need to find out that. React Native or Flutter? I'm not a UI guy to answer that question, honestly, Vikas, right? I have never done React Native videos or I have never done React Native coding, or neither in Flutter. So I don't think I'm the right person to answer that question. Startup time for Spring plus Hibernate. Any thoughts for reducing it? That's a great question, Ravi. I mean, this is a realistic scenario, right? I mean, we all talk about microservices, adding so many Hibernate repositories in Spring Boot and things like that, but how many of us know it reduces the startup time, right? I mean, sometimes you're okay with that because you might not be spinning up things very often, right? But that's a great question. So I have felt using MyBatis is much faster than using Hibernate. That's a tip you can take it as. Like based on my experience, I have seen MyBatis loads things faster than Hibernate, because Hibernate creates queries on the fly. MyBatis just maps them, right? And the general thing about startup time is a Spring or a Java specific thing, right? I mean, if you look at new frameworks like Micronaut or what is that, Quarkus, right? They are doing ahead of time compilation, right? And when you do ahead of time compilation, all these dependencies which you need to load during startup time, your dependency injection and things like that, they can be sorted during the compile time, right? So that could be one way of reducing your startup time, right? That's what I think. The other thing is you can have lazy initialization, where your startup time could be faster, but then your first query might take a bit longer because it could be loading your classes during that time, right? So you will have to have a trade-off between these two. So those are some of the tips which I can give you for reducing the startup time. But I have seen MyBatis being faster than Hibernate. I have used both in my past, and I have seen MyBatis faster. But yeah, only bad thing is you will have to have XML files in your code and things like that. Okay, Sujan is an engineering student. Wow, man. I think after 10 years you will be a pro. I'm an engineering student and I'm trying out Spring Cloud technology, Spring Boot technology. None of my peers are using those technologies, and when I get stuck, I don't know whom to reach out to. Yeah, that's a great thing. See, like I said, you're already a pro with Spring Boot. When you come into your market, I mean, people will be looking up to you, right? That's what I can say. Being in college, you are already doing Spring Boot, which is already used in the enterprise world. See, definitely reach out to people in Stack Overflow, right? Or Twitter, right? That's the easiest thing to do. Or join some forums, join Spring community. If they have a Slack channel, join there. Try contributing. Since you're an engineering student, I would say try contributing to open source projects. You can be a project contributor, and then you can maybe become a Spring developer, right? I mean, that's no doubt. Try them. Can I occasionally reach out to you on LinkedIn? Yeah, sure. Definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn, Sujan. I don't know if you guys have my LinkedIn link. I can give. I don't know. I have it here. Usually people have it, but let me see. I don't have it handy. I'm just Googling out my name in LinkedIn. Oops, there are so many people. Okay, good to meet you. Hey Shriman, how are you? I'm good, man. Good to meet you. Yes, same here. So this is my LinkedIn profile. I'll just ping as well. Let me pin this. So you can take it from the pinned message, right? So since it is pinned, you can directly take it from there. Okay, what is the next question? Hey Shriman, good man, nice to meet you. Yes, I hope you're learning Google Cloud or maybe Azure next. Sumit is asking, I'm using Logstash to collect and send via Kafka to Splunk, and Kafka is being authenticated every 10 hours by Kerberos client. The issue is after a few days, Logstash is not running as authentication plane. Yeah, so this is a classic problem where your token is expired, right? This I don't know what to do, right? I mean, you will have to definitely check Logstash and then have a way to retry your authentication. So if authentication fails, it should re-authenticate and it should refresh the token, right? Sometimes I've seen the clients don't do it, right? So it's going to some kind of sleep for a few hours. Okay, so this you'll have to figure out from the Logstash code base, right, Sumit? So I don't know, I have never done it with the Logstash, but this is a common problem which everybody faces, right? You will have to re-authenticate, refresh your token, and then retry. Please make a video on BT link Jenkins pipeline. I required it in project. What is that BT Jenkins pipeline? I have no clue, Dheeraj. Okay. See, I have done videos on Jenkins pipeline. You can definitely leverage that and create your own pipeline. But if you ask me to create something, how will I create it? Right? I mean, why should I even create it? We'll take the opportunity to ask a query. Sure, definitely, Shriman, your time. What's your view on the cloud security for 2021? That's a great question. See, if you look at cloud security, it's been a big topic these days. Right, I mean, after the incidents with different companies with respect to cloud security, now in fact recently there was a SolarWinds issue where there was a rogue package which got installed as a part of their installation, right? I mean, cloud security is going to be a big thing, but not everybody will need to know it, right? But you should know the basics. You don't have to know the in-depth understanding of it. But if you look at security as a concept, it has evolved a lot, right? I mean, when I used to be in college, it was not this much. I used to store username and password in the database with a table or row kind of a mapping, right? But nowadays we have different ways of rotating passwords. We have vaults, we have different encryption methodologies. Even with that, things are getting lost, right? And that's why security is an important thing, because when innovative ideas come in, people are becoming innovative and trying to hack that as well, right? So definitely cloud security is going to be a key thing in the 2021. I would say it's the base for anything, right, on cloud, because without security you cannot do anything. Without a lock, our house is nothing, right? So same way, you should have a way to figure out how to secure your cloud infrastructure, right? And obviously that's going to be a huge deal in 2021. What do you think of roadmap.sh? Nice. I mean, this is why I come to lives, because I get to know a lot of new things from you guys. Okay. I have never heard about it, Dimitri. Nice. I'll look at it. I've never heard of it. I used to look at the roadmap by GitHub. GitHub had created recently a roadmap, right? The public, not this, actually, there was a way where in your project you can have like roadmaps. Right, so this is the kind of thing I think in projects you can have like roadmaps and then you can add it. That's what I saw, but it's a good thing. I will explore that. It looks good, but I generally look at roadmaps, right? I mean, if you want to understand a product, for example, AWS has a lot of public roadmaps, right? I mean, you can definitely look at those roadmaps publicly, and you get to know what's coming up, right? And that gives a good view of what's happening within an ecosystem. And especially with open source world, it's necessary for people to share these roadmaps, and I feel it's good. Thanks for sharing it. What about the GraphQL versus REST API? That's a great question. I mean, I have answered that in a video. You can definitely look at that. I would say it was a good video. I felt good about creating it. You can definitely look at this particular video, James. REST versus GraphQL. I would suggest you to do that. Is it good to go for certification for cloud nowadays? I mean, if everybody follows it, then why not, right? I mean, if I'm not a fan of certification, to be honest, but then if I don't do it, I mean, obviously people are judging, right? I mean, that's the thing, honest thing I see, right? Obviously you should do. If you know, then why not do it, right? A lot of people in the school might know more things than people who are getting first rank or second rank, but still they will have to pass their exams to get that degree, right? And that's when they will be valued, right? So over a period of time, I have realized certifications are somewhat similar. Though I don't like it, I will have to do it so that people know, okay, this guy knows really what is Azure, or who knows what is AWS, right? So that's what I feel like. You shouldn't take it, I mean, with whatever, right? I mean, I would say do it. What's the harm in doing it? Right, everybody's doing it. That's okay. It just gives you self-motivation that you have completed something. So definitely try it out. COVID joke made it a use case. Yeah, I know. I mean, like, I can't remember cracking any joke with people on Zoom, right? I mean, it's so difficult to create audience in a digital thing. See, right now I'm just looking at two monitors, right? I mean, I don't know how many people are looking at it, how many people laugh in the background. I cannot make a joke out of it. It's very hard time for stand-up comedians to make jokes, right? I mean, it's very difficult. Same way with any interactive thing, right? Even if I join a conference or something, if I crack a joke, how many people will get it, right? So difficult times. But yeah, let's move on. Thoughts on new Apple Silicon for development? Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, Ratna is trying to get a new M1 MacBook, but then I scared him saying that I don't know. So he's now scared to buy that M1 chip. Same way, the whole Apple Silicons are based on the whole M1 chip, right? So I don't know. People are saying it's extremely fast. Maybe next time when I buy the new laptop, I will explore it. But my mind is like, okay, touch wood, it's good till now. So I'm okay with my laptop. But I will let you guys know if I buy a Mac Mini or something. I will let you know if I buy it. But yeah, thank you, Dimitri, for the stickers. Okay, Saktivel is saying, please tell about the path to learn Mern Stack, bro. So Mern Stack, I'm not an expert as such. I would say definitely target each and everything, right? I mean, for Express.js, just search for Express.js, go towards a tutorial and get it. Understand how Express.js works. Then integrate your MongoDB into it. So slowly you can do all these one by one. But I don't have a learning path because I did not make any videos as such. But search for Mern. There are a lot of videos on the internet these days for Mern. There's a Firebase for Flask error crypto module not found. Okay, see, this is specific to your machine. I mean, we will have to look at if you're using any specific version of Python which is creating it, or we will have to look at what version of Flask you are using. So it's specific and very what do you call it? We should debug in depth, Nikhil. I cannot just like answer like this. What is the issue? I cannot imagine what issue could happen. Yes, we are using Spring Plus Vim. My bad. Yeah, cool, Vijay. Good to know. Hi Rakesh, how are you? Any thoughts on infrastructure as code? Yeah, I actually, if you guys remember, I posted a picture of Pulumi. Pulumi was an infrastructure as a code tool. I should have made a video on it, but then I did not make a video on it. I did not get time. I might learn Terraform in the future, right? So I might make a mixture of Pulumi versus Terraform videos as well, right? I'll try to do that. 2021 is all about that. Hi Anuj, how are you? I'm going to leave, man. Docker don't work on M1 chips. Is it? I mean, I didn't know that. Seriously. Gagan. If Docker doesn't work, then what's the point for developer getting a M1 chip? Okay, maybe Docker is just upgrading it. I mean, it's okay. It will develop over a period of time, but I don't know if processors have like that much dependent thing. Okay, weird. Thanks for that. I mean, I will let you guys know if it works, right? I mean, looking at it, I'm still okay. It says that in the development we recommend you know. Oh, that's a great FYI for me, Gagan. Thanks for updating. I mean, looks like Docker doesn't work on Apple M1 chips. I mean, Ratna, it's a sign. You should not get M1 yet, right? I mean, just wait for it until Docker releases a new patch, or use Katakoda as always, free stuff, right? I learned about service discovery, circuit breaker pattern, Microsoft. What pattern should I learn next, dude? I mean, for a college grad, you know everything. I don't think in the industry so many people know these many things. I mean, fun fact. I mean, this is the truth, dude. I mean, if you know all these, go to microservices.io. You will master microservices in like no time, I think. Sujan, good to know. Good to know. Nice. Go to microservices.io and you have all the patterns here, buddy. Being an architect, do you feel the pressure of knowing the latest technology and coding, cloud, DevOps, and all the other stuff? How do you keep yourself updated and motivated? See, by looking at all these and talking to you guys, that's how I keep myself motivated, Kaustav. See, the only thing I do is I attend a lot of conferences, right? I mean, I just don't do BAU stuff and then just sleep, right? I just look at what's happening in the industry. I constantly read documentation. I constantly read what's happening from different sources. I follow every YouTube channel, which is technology. I keep myself updated from those sources, right? And I also attend a bunch of conferences, try to push beyond what I'm doing and things like that. So that's how I'm doing it. But yeah, there is a constant pressure, definitely that's there, right? But if you are already doing these, why are you like thinking of pressure, right? I mean, it will become a habit and then you will just keep on doing it. That's what I think, right? I mean, that's what you should be doing. That's what all architects should be doing. Learning should be a part of your agenda, right? I mean, somebody shouldn't come and say you should do certifications or you should learn something. I mean, you should learn for next 3 months. This is your strategy or something. Your manager shouldn't do that. You should just do it on your own. That's what I think. And you should have your own plan. How can we learn Hasura? Yeah, that's another pending thing for a long time, James. Hasura is pretty easy. They have a YouTube channel as well. Definitely take a look at it. They also have a Docker, They also have a Docker package or Docker installation which you can leverage. Definitely follow that. They have good videos on their YouTube channel as well. Take a look at that. Oh, Android simulator also doesn't work on M1 chip. I didn't know that, man. I mean, okay, this is a sign. I think people who didn't know M1 chips didn't support so many things. I mean, FYI, right? Thanks, Anshuman, for that. But yeah, good to know. What was the new technology to learn for Spring Boot? I mean, there is no technology as such for learning Spring Boot. If you look at my recent videos, I don't do much on Spring Boot these days because there is nothing interesting in Spring Boot because everything is the same pattern. You just follow the same pattern. It's all done. What's fun in just doing the same thing again and again, right? If you're already using or if you need it for work, then it makes sense. But then if you're exploring new technology, you should explore new concepts or new architectures or new frameworks or new products, right? Spring Boot is like a framework. Within that, you have so many libraries, right? I mean, these libraries are just abstraction over other products, right? For example, Hasura, whatever James just mentioned, right? I mean, it's just a revolutionary thing which was wrapping up your Postgres database, and then it's exposing GraphQL APIs. That is a new technology, right, compared to Spring Boot, right? So if something new comes in Spring Boot, it's very easy. You just follow the documentation, you're done, right? I don't feel that as a new thing anymore, right? That's why I stopped making Spring Boot videos much. I might make like end-to-end videos, but then it's individually making videos on every new thing on Spring Boot. I mean, that's too much, right? I mean, that's what I think. I want to create my AD server using Docker. Is it possible? Okay, AD means Active Directory Services like LDAP. Yeah, you can definitely run it on Docker, right? But how do you maintain state, right? Obviously, you will have to store your username and password somewhere, right? Shala. How will you do it? Right? I mean, that's where the question comes. Like, do you want to use it in your Docker container, or you want to store it in a database, or you want to store it in a file system and things like that? It is possible to do it, but you will have to do that. Okay, what is this saying? Docker officially dropped preview of the yeah, so this is that link, correct? We were just googling out. Thank you. Oh, there is an official way to fix it, is it? Okay, this is for fixing Docker on ML. Got it. I think it's on preview mode, right, buddy? Cool. Yeah, this is a workaround if you guys are using it. FYI. Cool. Hey Jack, I think I'll end the stream in a bit. It's been like 1.5 hours. Too much. I'm just like non-stop going on, right? I hope it was very helpful. Okay, based on industry standard, how much average salary? I think I shouldn't be answering this question, buddy. I'm not a pro. I mean, like I'm just a developer like you. If I make a statement, it's not going to be like justifying whatever you think, and it will not match what is there in Glassdoor or any other salary website like levels.fyi or something like that. I mean, I would rather skip this question, honestly, right? I mean, it's up to you. If you think like it makes sense to ask 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs, it's up to you, right? I mean, I don't think it's something specific. I mean, industry standard, you can definitely look at levels.fyi or go to Glassdoor, but I mean, there is no generalization. I mean, things get stale very often. AWS or okay, Azure for IAC. I mean, I did not work on Azure much, so I feel AWS is okay, but Azure has like better user experience. That's what I've realized. But yeah, AWS is popular. I mean, it's a trade-off, buddy. Rakesh. While writing interfaces or abstract classes, is it good to use external libraries like annotations? You can, yes, definitely. How to start your own cybersecurity company, buddy? What kind of question is this? Thanks for the yeah, thank you very much. I mean, I will stop this here. I mean, you guys are asking more and more questions. It will keep on going for hours. Then it'll be difficult for people to watch after the live is gone. But yeah, I mean, I hope you guys were finding it useful. I mean, do let me know if you like the video. Like I used to say, right? I mean, if you like the video, go and like it and things like that, so that it is just promoting to other people's, right? I mean, I'm not doing it for my own and things like that. If I had to do it on my own, I would have gone to Udemy or Pluralsight or somewhere. But if you feel that the videos are helpful, definitely share it with your colleagues or friends and things like that. That's all. And yeah, I mean, do let me know in the comment section how it is. Give me feedback if I need to change something. If you think something is crap, do let me know. I read every comment. I read every I can see every name, and I can recognize sometimes, right? Though I might not be able to tell you, but yeah, I mean, if you're around, do let me know. I am in Chennai right now. If you guys want to meet, I can just meet. I mean, just ping me. I generally meet people over Zoom or the Google Meet. I generally have one-on-one conversation with a lot of you. You guys know. Ping me. I mean, if you want to have a casual chat, anything. I mean, I'm here as a friend. I hope it's useful. Let me answer a few questions and then we can go off, right? This is just for people who want to just go off. Okay, so what is next? Thanks for the live Q&A. Thank you, James. Thanks for all the awesome questions. I mean, you guys are like awesome. Like, that's why I have live Q&As, right? It's interactive and technical as well at the same time. Hey Salman, how to get a job as a Spring Boot developer out of college? You can definitely follow my Spring Boot learning path if you want to learn things, right? Obviously, you will have to have hands-on, like what Sujan, I think, right? Sujan is doing. He has been already working on Spring Boot. He has been creating small side projects. You can definitely create side projects, Salman, and then do that and then show that in your interview, and that should be helpful. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you for your time. Thanks for joining. Now I'm a Java developer with Spring Boot and Microservices. Suggest best one for future, please. Yeah, definitely you should learn about what are the different microservices architecture patterns. That will help you. Go with reactive based programming and things like that. That should help you. When are you coming live next? Obviously it's a surprise. I generally don't reveal anything. It's a complete surprise, Sujan. I mean, if you get the notification, you are lucky. If you did not, you did not, right? I mean, that's the honest thing. I mean, there is no speculated time in which I go. Whenever I free, I try to go in and squeeze in, and that's what. Mostly on the weekends, right? Sometimes I go on Fridays, but yeah, rarely. That's okay. But yeah, cool. Hope it was useful. That's what it matters. Thanks for the Q&A. Thank you very much, Aniket. Thanks for your time, and thanks a lot for joining the stream. Thank you. Okay, Time Pass says thank you. Thank you very much, Time Pass. I have noted down many things from the live. Yep, Vijay. I mean, that's why I come live. A lot of people learn a lot of things in the live as well, and I also learn a lot of things from you guys. I have these tabs open, so I can go and revisit them. Yep, advance Happy New Year. Thank you very much, Rakesh. Advance Happy New Year to all of you guys as well. Stay safe, and then we'll meet again in the next live stream, right? Please create a Discord for the community. Yeah, there is a Slack community, Naveen. If you don't know, there is a Slack community. You can go to bit.ly/join tech primers. I also created a Discord, but then I don't think a lot of people are there in Discord, so I'm not active there. But you can join the Slack community. Go to bit.ly/join tech primers. That will directly give you the invite. You can directly join the Slack from there, right? So that should be helpful. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you for your time. Okay, one final question. I have a question on SOAP, please. I have 2 WSDLs and need to validate the request. I configured a payload validation interceptor, but only one of the requests gets validated. Okay, you should have an interceptor validated for your paths, right? I mean, just check your path if it is validating that specific path. If it is not, then definitely there is something wrong within your interceptor only. All right, I mean, definitely check that. So Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year, James. Thank you, Nani. Happy New Year, guys. Random comments for you. Okay, thank you very much. Upgrade 2.0. Shri, thank you very much. See, love you. Thank you very much, guys. I think that's all. I hope it was pretty useful. That's all I had. We'll meet again in the next Q&A, maybe next month, right? I mean, I would say every month I come live at least once. I can go every week as well, but I don't know if people wanted it every week, right? It might be too much of showing my face. That's the only thing. But yeah, I think that's it. Cool. As always, if you guys like the video, go ahead and like it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to it. Meet you again in the next video. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, guys. Good night. Good evening. See you guys. Bye-bye.